Sarah pushed open the hospital room door, her heart racing with anticipation. She had received a call from Ryan, pleading with her to come to the hospital. Ryan's words still echoed in her mind. Taehyung needs you, Sarah. He's not going to make it if you don't come. As she entered the room, her eyes scanned the space, taking in the beeping machines and the sterile smell of hospital. And then her gaze fell on him, Taehyung, lying motionless on the bed, his eyes sunken and his skin pale. Sarah's breath caught up in her throat as she took a step forward, her legs trembling beneath her. Sarah's hand reached out to brush a strand of hair from Taehyung's forehead, and as she did, his eyes flickered open. He gazed up at her, his eyes unfocused at first, but then, as they locked onto hers, a spark of recognition ignited. Sarah, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Sarah's eyes welled up with tears as she smiled. Her heart overflowing with joy. I'm here, Taehyung. I'm here. Taehyung's gaze never wavered from her, and Sarah could see the surprise emotion in his eyes. He was still, his body weak and battered. His eyes told a different story. They told a story of shock, a sudden shock that left him frozen. Taehyung's hand stirred and Sarah grasped it, her fingers intertwining with his as he tried to say something. Don't talk, Taehyung, she whispered. You're going to be okay. I'm here now. The machines beeped, and the hospital room seemed to fade into the background as Sarah and Taehyung's eyes locked. He never thought that Ryan would bring her back, thinking of her as a selfish woman. Who only cared about her own feelings, but no, he was wrong. They had some problems sitting, but as soon as he said, Sarah was quick to embrace him in her arms. He hugged back, his eyes shut tightly. Meanwhile, Vian stood at the door, her eyes fixed on the pair, eyes flashing hurt and vulnerability. Taehyung's eyes fluttered open as if sensing someone's presence. His gaze met Vian's, their eyes locked, and for a moment, they just stared at each other. The air was heavy with tension, the silence between them a palpable thing. Vian's gaze had that sadness, feeling her heart breaking into pieces. She knew it was the end of her and Taehyung's chapter. To Taehyung, Sara's embrace, which had felt so natural just moments before, now felt foreign. Her eyes dropped down to the floor. A silent, bitter chuckle left her mouth. She looked up again, hiding her emotions behind a smile, and mouthed in joy to Taehyung playfully. She turned on her heels and closed the door behind. Taehyung looked away as the door closed, his eyes returning to Sana. He smiled weakly. While Vian's grip on the doorknob loosened, the tears that had been welling up in her eyes finally fell. She walked away from the room, the cold air hitting her face, and the tears kept falling like diamonds. As she moved away, she felt a sense of resolve wash over her. She would move on. She would focus on herself. It wouldn't be easy, but she's not weak either. Maybe kind enough to let him be happy with someone else, but never weak enough to be dependent on anyone. Life is on new paths. The rain is new. New shadow, new everything. A week later, Vian sat on her bed, phone pressed to her ears, listening as Tay's sister's angry voice filled the room. She remained calm, her expression impassive as the sister scolded her for uniting Taehyung with his ex-girlfriend. I can't believe you did this, Vian, his sister exclaimed. Vian took a deep breath before responding. I did it because I love him, and I want him to be happy, she said softly. I knew he still had feelings for her, and I couldn't bear to see him suffer. I did what I thought was the best for both of us. His sister scoffed. Best for both of you? How is breaking up your own marriage best for you? Vian's soft smile faded, but her voice remained steady. I realized that I should just focus on myself. I'm tired of pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Besides, there was no other option to save Taehyung's life. Tae's sister fell silent for a moment, processing Vian's words. But why didn't you just talk to me about it first? We could have found another solution together. Vian shook her head. I needed to do this on my own. I needed to take control and make a decision that would set both of us free. His sister sighed heavily. I understand where you're coming from, Vian. I just wish you had trusted me enough to confide in me. Vian nodded, a small smile tugging at her corner of the lips. I know, and I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. Now that it's done, I've made up my mind. I'm going to go abroad and focus on my career. I need this time to heal and rediscover myself. My favorite artist wants to go work with me. Can it get any better? The older woman's tone softened. I support you, Ryan. I may not agree with your decision. But I want you to be happy. Promise me you'll take care of yourself and keep in touch. Ryan's eyes sparkled with gratitude. I promise, sis. Thank you for understanding and being there for me even when we disagree. Oh, and please make sure Uncle and Auntie doesn't go against Taehyung's wishes this time and let him marry Sara. I'll send the divorce papers soon. Despite the hurt she was feeling, she didn't let it pull her back. As they said their goodbyes and ended the call, Ryan felt a sense of relief wash over her. She knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but she was determined to forge her own path and create a new beginning for herself. Meanwhile, only a few more days and Taehyung will get discharged from the hospital. It's been weeks since he had seen YN. Sara was there with him from time to time, but still a void in his heart was developing so slowly. This was the longest time they have lived without seeing each other. Taehyung was worried. Even after having everyone, loneliness threatened to consume him. He was not alone, yet he felt lonely. He realized this is how YN must have felt every time he was not there at home, every time he blamed her. His thoughts were filled with her. He knew it was wrong to feel this way, but he didn't know how to just stop it. His sister came to visit him early in the morning at the hospital and he couldn't help but ask about YN. Huh? Oh, YN. She's leaving the country. Her favorite artist wanted to work with her, so yeah.